KROJ, and you're not listening to Valley Views on 101.5 FM. Check it out.
And now you are tuned in to Valley Views with your host, Hector.
Yo, it's Fernando. Shouts out to Valley Views, man. They played me on the station. I was like, let me make you a jingle. So this is my jingle I made for this. This is what I had to do. This is Valley Views. This is what I had to do. This is Valley Views. She said it like, so what you want? So sing it like, so what you want? She sing it like, so what you want? So sing it like, so what you want? I wasn't tripping when I lost my job. No reason to lie to my mom. Now I got 8, 9 to 5, y'all. I was like, right on. No work on weekends, waking up early, sleep at 8. I think I'm surely dreaming, just look at what Burns achieving, 20 pro skater, I'm gonna grind. Not one opportunity I will decline. I show up early like people time. Jokes and truth I jot in the rhyme. Chicano house to Omatsu now. To a song with y'all in his papa's house. 8182 San Diego. Become a legend in the valley like Danny Trejo. This is what I had to do. This is Valley View. This is what I had to do. This is Valley View. She said it like,
yes, everybody. Welcome, everyone, to Valley Views here on KROJ. My name is Hector, your host here of Valley Views, and it is once again my pleasure to be here with everybody in this new segment for 2022 called Meet the Candidates 2022. We've done a variety of these, of course, come election season here at Valley Views and KROJ. We definitely believe in educating our listening audience, our community. However, Valley Views and KROJ, we do not endorse political candidates or campaigns, but we definitely want to meet the candidates that are running that will have a direct impact depending on the seats that they run for here in our community. So it is my pleasure to introduce our very first guest here of the Meet the Candidates 2022 series here on Valley Views on KROJ. And we are talking about Danielle Sandoval, candidate for LA City Council District 15. Danielle, how are you? Good afternoon.
I'm doing great. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Yes. It's a pleasure to have you here, and thank you also for making that drive. From the south, you really did do today getting here to the studio a tour of LA, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so definitely welcome here to our studios here in the city of San Fernando. And again, it's KROJ. We are in the airwaves here in the city of San Fernando, which is, in the valley of the San Fernando Valley, which it's encompasses LA City, and of course, you're running for City Hall. But tell me, let's start with that. Actually, I just really want us to just get started here with. Why have you decided to run for office for City Hall Council District 15?
So Council District 15 encompasses, for those of you who don't know, San Pedro, Harbor City, Harbor Gateway, Wilmington, and Watts. So I decided to run for City Council because I really knew that there was a real need in all the communities throughout our district. And I started advocating in the community about 10 years ago. And I really realized the unequitable resources that was happening within our communities. And there was more of an emphasis on the Port of Los Angeles, which we house the biggest port complex.
Right.
And through my advocacy, I knew that we needed more. We needed more around our schools. We needed services, basic needs. And I decided to run when I found out that the seat was open. I just felt like I could do more. And because I have walked in most Angelenos' shoes, I just knew that I was the leader to step in and really make that change.
Yeah. And speaking of that, then, you yourself as a businesswoman, and thinking about our current economy. Of course, right now we're dealing with high oil prices. Of course, there's been talks about even drilling off the shores here of California, Southern California, and of course, like you mentioned, the ports and the impact that has had because of the pandemic, COVID-19, and there's been just inflation, right, in our city and really all across our nation. But coming down here to LA, and just from your point of view and your perspective, as your experience as a businesswoman, how do you see you being on the council district for LA improving the LA economy?
Okay, so I want to go back a little bit because I wasn't always a businesswoman. I started out 20 years ago in the hospitality industry. So I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. And I worked in retail as well. And I also had small businesses on the side. And I had a catering business and other businesses. Living paycheck to paycheck, sometimes you don't have all the money for your rent, or you have to make that tough decision whether you're going to pay for your utilities or put food on the table. And so that is when I became a entrepreneur, because I had many businesses, and I went to school for different skills. Eventually, my goal was to open up my own restaurant, and I opened up my restaurant in the city of Los Angeles. And what I found was that our city is not small business friendly. And it was really difficult just trying to go through the permitting process, working through City Hall, getting the business license, and then having a restaurant. You still have to also go through the public health department as well, through the county.
Okay. Yes.
And by the time you finish opening, you're already in debt, almost $100,000. And of course, creating those jobs for our local community, and the overhead was a lot, especially if an employer, a small business owner, wants to pay that living wage. It's really difficult having to go through all the processes. And there's, unless you've been in business for a really long time, I felt that we really needed to help with more mentorship programs for our small businesses. We really needed to educate on the financing of businesses, inventory, just how to the paycheck structure and how to pay those taxes. And so they say, businesses usually fail within 1 to 3 years. And I knew going through that experiences that a lot of it was education. And when you go from having a business that is not brick and mortar to going brick and mortar, it really is difficult. And that's why we see the closures or the turnaround over and over of our businesses. So creating a program that can actually help small businesses not only open the business, but stay in the business, so we have a sustainable local economy.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with that said, what about, because it kind of goes hand in hand, like, you have, the business community, you talked about like this, sometimes like folks that are living paycheck to paycheck. And, part of this too right now in our, current economy is also housing. Housing is skyrocketed as well, whether it's you're trying to buy a home and or you're renting, or you move to another place of the city and rents are just also skyrocketing. And then with that also comes our unhoused neighbors, our homeless crisis that we have. And so what are your plans for addressing both? These are two different buckets here, but still related. Our unhoused homeless crisis, as well as just housing in general here in Los Angeles.
So they are two different issues, but not really, because the solution is financial literacy. And if you have that education in financial literacy, it actually helps you to understand business as well as just owning a home. Part of that is attaining credit. What does that look like? Understanding basic budgeting, savings, other opportunities, such as retirement. We tend to look at retirement as waiting for Social Security. That's not a retirement plan. And having financial literacy programs embedded within our business resource centers or in our schools, or working with some of our nonprofit organizations to provide financial literacy. I think that will actually help both those that are unhoused and wanting to are striving for a good paying job, but also having the understanding of creating credit and savings and how to get to the next step. And that's in both.
Yeah. And how do you think, as a city official, then, if you win the election in June, and then later on the general as well, how do you see the city then being able to assist with that financial literacy?
So, like I just mentioned, the Business Resource Center, we already have that within our city, and we could already put that structure in there. We also have the various Chamber of Commerces, and we could also work with the chambers to help get programming. Also, our schools, we can talk to LAUSD, see how we could provide such programs within our schools, as well as the community colleges. We have a lot of options. We have our new youth development department within the city of Los Angeles. We could do a pilot program through that department specifically and fund that. But we have other services that we do provide within the city of Los Angeles, and we could just expand funding within those departments to offer these services.
Yeah. And then going along with what you said with schools, on your campaign website, you talk about you doing your part to advocate for resources and ensure LAUSD policies such as community schools, along with ensuring parents, educators, and staff have a voice at the city level.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
So, thank you. I'm a parent. And during the pandemic, my daughter was graduating from a LAUSD school, and my little one was entering a LAUSD school right in when the pandemic started. I am a strong advocate for our public schools, and I do believe that the surrounding environment around our schools also affects the learning environment of our children. There is something that I've been wanting to do, and that's creating buffer zones around our schools. They should be clean, safe, and if somebody's speeding in our school zones, they should have higher fines. That is public. That is the risk of our children. Also, our sidewalks should be kept clean and free of debris and maintained as well. Our crosswalks should be, we should have lit crosswalks, crossing guards. So I am a big advocate for making sure that the surrounding community of our schools are free and clear of debris and are safe. My daughter was actually hit by a car on her bike on her way to school. And I have been advocating for a left turn signal where she was injured for 5 years.
Wow.
And told that there was no money in our city's budget to put that there. And my own child actually was injured where I was advocating for. So putting in lights, making sure that that is a top priority around our schools.
Yeah, and again, that goes to public safety, which is the next thing I wanted to talk to you about. And my just like I hope your daughter's okay.
Oh, she's good. Yes, she is.
But nevertheless, that's just traumatic stuff that does happen sometimes. And so speaking on just public safety in general, what is your plan? There's different folks within our community that have had different ideas on one, just what is public safety and like how the city should invest it. But what's your plan when it comes to that?
So I am a big supporter for neighborhood watch groups. And I always encourage neighbors and, other community residents that are seeing an uptick in crime to get with their neighbors and, create these neighborhood watches, also as well as speaking to their senior lead officers. But we need to really look at what is happening in our community. And crime rises because there's a need. And we have to look at what is that need. It's a cry for help. And a lot of it that's geared towards mental health services and individuals who are self-medicating on our streets. Our public health system really needs to take accountability, provide those services in the field. We need outreach in the field who are addressing these issues. A lot of our safety issues within our communities is due to mental health.
Yeah.
As well as we need to get our kids off the streets and fund programs for our youth. Give them a pathway for success. And that is what I want to do. When we get them young, we get them off the streets, we set them up for success, and then they're off, and they come back to a community that is free of crime, free of the breeze that our streets are they're so in disarray right now, and really investing in our youth and into ourselves is what I think will help a lot of our safety issues.
Yeah. And then speaking of that, you talked about some funding and of course, other folks, when we look at the city budget, which is over $11 billion, right? And about 46% or so goes into fire and police. Just what are your thoughts when you hear, defund the police?
Right. So essentially, it's a slogan, and we really didn't defund. We reallocated some of the overtime money. I have been a member of the Neighborhood Council Budget Advocates for about 6 years, and looking at all of the city's budgets and making recommendations. I know a lot of it goes towards the cleanups and the overtime salary and pay, but there is also other overtimes that we pay for. It's not just for cleanups or for the unhouseless. It's other overtime like securing a public parking building. I think looking at all of that and the budgets within every city department and restructuring that and reallocating it towards other services, such like our parks, our aging. We haven't even talked about our aging community. We don't really talk about that. Technologies, jobs, programs, expanding green spaces, and really looking at what that budget is and how we're utilizing it. There's a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse, and we need to really look at how our money is actually being spent.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you for that. Appreciate that response as well. And who are you? Who are some of your, I guess, either organizations, individuals, folks like that are endorsing your campaign?
So I'm proud to say that I have the endorsement of the ILWU Local 56. I also have the endorsement of the Latino Chicano Caucus for the CDP. I have the endorsement of the Latino Chicano Immigrant Democratic Club. I also have an array of educators, small business owners, community leaders, founders of nonprofit organizations. My campaign truly is a grassroots campaign. I am people-led, I'm people-funded, and all of my volunteers come from within my district. And they have been helping me knock on doors since June of last year to really get the vote out and put my name out there. And they're so excited. Everybody's very excited to see the change because we're doing it together. And we're all going to change our community. So we're just waiting. A community member said, I can't wait to vote for you on June 7th.
All right. Well, yep. And, speaking of that, like time, June 7th, we're just about out of time here. Just before we, say goodbye to you, Danielle, just what are some of the final thoughts that you want to leave our audience with?
So I just want to say thank you again for having me and giving me this opportunity. I would like to encourage your listeners to please go on my social media, share my content, and also my website. May I plug my website?
Yeah, of course, yes.
www.sandoval4la.com. And, we can create change in our districts and in our communities, and together we will change. And thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who's helped me thus far. Thank you.
Right on. Thank you so much for being here. Again, we've had Danielle Sandoval running for LA City Council District 15 here with us on KROJ. Again, Danielle, we just want to wish you the best of luck. Thank you for being here. And we'll be right back after a little musical break. Y'all enjoy this one, and we'll be right back.
Yo, it's Fernando. Shouts out to Valley Views, man. They played me on the station. I was like, let me make you a jingle. So this is my jingle I made for this. This is what I had to do. This is Valley Views. This is what I had to do. This is Valley Views. Got me singing like, hey, hey, hey. what you want? We singing like so what you want? We singing like so what you want? We singing like so what you want? I wasn't tripping when I lost my job. No reason to lie to my mom. Now I've got 8, 9 to 5, y'all. I was like right on, right on, right